Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So I have mentioned this to you guys on the channel before, but I am a little bit obsessed with sex education. I thought that if I wasn't going to go down the media route in my life, I could very easily see myself working in a clinic or something like that. But I chose the struggling artiste life. The beauty of doing what I do is I can combine all of the things that I enjoy, smush them together and create stuff with it. So I thought it would be a really fun idea to have a little look at some of the developments we've made over time when it comes to sexual education, because if there's anything that we have improved the most on as society, it's our sexual health education. We have done a 180, my folks. It's interesting. Whoa, the sun's like, yes, I'm for this. It's really important, and it's actually quite mind-boggling to think of the consequences of some of the stuff that we were taught. Isn't it very odd how out of all things they could get so wrong? It's learning about our own selves. It's such a massive part of our life, like adolescence and then moving on to like periods, eventually childbirth and things like that. Like huge parts of our life is mystified. Like there's so much passion and education towards things like algebra, towards things like textiles, how to make a handbag. Like I had more lessons on how to make a freaking handbag at school when I didn't even want to take textiles, but I had more lessons on that than I had on lessons of myself and my anatomy and what the heck was going to happen to me in a few years' time. So I thought it would be cool to have a little look at some old school sex education videos, kind of compare what they're saying then to what they say now. Not that I'm at school at this point, but I'm pretty aware of like the stuff that we have access to when it comes to information now. The internet is an amazing place for helping us with stuff like this now, whereas then, not so much. And even in the 90s, there's some wild stuff that even I remember watching. So I really want to start off with this one because it's just the title of it is making me crease. 1980s Irish Catholic sex education video is what it's called. We just know the word Catholic is going to pull this video in certain directions that I don't even want to think about. I do have a personal issue with religion being the reason why I feel important topics like sex and adolescence and growing up is shamed. I hate the idea of kids feeling as though they can't talk about certain things, they shouldn't talk about certain things, they'll be doomed if they do, and it honestly angers me. Maybe we'll discuss that if it gets mentioned in any of these videos. Okay, so it is a relatively short video, so we're starting off short and sweet. I wonder if any of you guys saw any of these videos at your school, because obviously there's a lot of different ages on my channel. I also would love you guys to let me know in the comment section below what your sexual education was like, your experience. How did you find it? Did you think it was good, bad? How would you improve it? I just would love to have an open discussion, thoughts and opinions down there in the comment section. Whoa, this is already dated. The fashion though. That music. I feel like I'm watching an advert for something. Back before phones. Okay. For girls, right.
I'm Angela, and over the next few sessions, we're going to be together talking about you growing up, your body, its changes.
I'm sorry. Is this lady supposed to look like that doll that's sitting behind her? In the media industry, people did talk like this. It was very slow and well spoken, but I'm wondering whether it's more intimidating because of the topic, like the way it's like a little bit patronizing. But that might have just been education back then, full stop.
And I think you're going to find it fascinating.
Aww.
Everything is based on love. And the person who loves us most of all is God. Dear Lord, I want to invite you to be with us as we talk together about growing up, because you are the inventor of people.
Everyone on my channel who watches my videos is more than entitled to believe what they wish, and I'm 100% behind you on every walk of your life if it makes you happy, if it doesn't harm anyone. I believe in a God. I will just put that out there, and then that's all I'm going to say on that topic. But I don't know how I feel about like I said at the beginning of this video, linking religion to sexual education, because that's when it gets, in my opinion, messy. You know, there's reasons that I have for that, such as people feeling ashamed for doing certain things with their body, choosing to do certain things with somebody else, and also, don't even get me started on sexuality. Alas, we continue.
So this is the newlywed couple here, and they're showing their love for each other by lovemaking. Lovemaking just means making each other feel loved. How do you make a person feel loved? Well, you give them kisses and hugs and you hold them close. But between a man and a woman, it's a bit different. Because when they hold each other really close and give a long kiss and a warm hug, they tell each other that they're beautiful and everything like that. And they also have a bit of a laugh because they are the best of friends.
Why am I getting goosebumps over a 1980s Irish Catholic sex education video? I'm not gonna lie, I understand that sex isn't always about love. Regardless, when it is involved around love, this is a really nice way of putting it. I don't know where she's gonna go with this, but I like how this is done. It's said quite nicely. At least for a kid's introduction to sex for the very first time, I would like it to be like this if I had children. Minus the God part.
In a very short time, because they're so close, the man feels his penis becoming erect, hard, and the sperm coming down into it. Like it did when he had a wet dream. While the sperm is coming into the man's penis, the woman's body is getting ready to receive the sperm. It's amazing, you know, how God made it. Because while they're making love and being happy together, the woman feels her vagina becoming kind of slippery inside so that the penis can easily slip in and out. No trouble.
Once again, I'm not mad about this. As a kid, I would be like, what the hell does she mean by the sperm starts coming into it? Like, I'd be like, for me, that bit didn't seem helpful. Like, I would have expected her just to talk about the sperm part when he's finishing. Something that's always bothered me about sex ed at schools is I always remember as a kid taking everything so literal in sex ed, and that was what set me like 10 steps back when I was trying to understand all these things my teachers were saying.
So he slips his penis into her vagina, gives her the sperm, then she has the sperm. Then the penis slips out, and that's all. And that's called sexual intercourse.
Once again, not bad. Good description. Gives her the sperm. I mean, you could pick and poke all of these things apart easily, especially ones that are in the 1980s. But I would have expected some, like, I was expecting some drawing or animation, but I'm very surprised that there isn't. It's more of like it feels like I'm talking to like my auntie or my mum or something. And that might have been the purpose.
Some people call it having sex. So the man passes the sperm to the woman, and now his sperm is in her. Maybe you're wondering if a mistake could be made and a man could pass water instead of semen and sperm. That can't happen because there's a valve which closes to stop the urine coming when sexual intercourse is taking place.
Oh, when she said water, I was like, I don't understand. So she means we. I like that because that is the sort of thing my little mind would have gone to as a kid. Honestly, I used to ask the weirdest questions.
Possibly you're saying to yourself, oh, I'll never do that. It's awful. As you know, when you hear about it first, it sounds very strange. But God has made it really lovely, an exciting and pleasant feeling.
Please say that was something someone else has edited. Not too bad. Even with the religious stuff, that wasn't anywhere near as bad as some of the ones I've seen. Yeah, it was confirmed. They edited that last bit, I was gonna say. Let's try America's first sex education film shown in public schools, 1962. So this was like what my mum and dad probably could have watched. Let's see what they learned to conceive me. God, this already sounds ancient.
try it. The hair was cut in a special style when a boy reached adolescence.
Josie, don't bother George.
You
What?
almost finished with that report, George?
Yeah, just about.
He's reading about Indian boys, adolescents like him.
Why don't you grow up?
Grow up? I'm just as grown up as you are, even if you are older.
Says who?
Mrs. Baker. She said that girls mature about a year earlier than boys.
You tell him, Beach. You tell him.
I suppose if she said you were a genius, you'd believe her.
Yes, I would.
George,
Hey, Dad, here's something from our report.
What's that, George?
Only the grown people have clothes on.
Say, Mom, can I wear this skirt tomorrow?
yes, Josie, I've almost finished hemming it.
The wearing of loincloths and skirts was considered a sign of sexual maturity.
What?
That's interesting, George. And it ties in with the film Josie was telling us about.
Sure does. We saw that film last year.
What is happening? Like, are they just trying to create like a storyline? This reminds me of porn. There's a storyline, but no one actually cares about the storyline. They just want to get to the point, so you're just aimlessly watching this video. Like,
Well, have you decided what you're going to say?
I'm going to tell them that the most important things to look for are
Aw.
the changes that take place in our bodies and feelings when we grow up.
I like that little transition. That was creative.
That is, when we become adolescents.
We've used that word adolescent before. Who can tell us what it means? Dorothy?
Well, it's boys and girls just beginning to mature. It happens when they're about our age.
I hate to say this, but it's giving me Parent Trap vibes. Does anyone love the original Parent Trap movie? Because it's one of my absolute favorites.
Would you put out the front lights, please?
When does human growth begin? Do boys and girls grow at the same rate? What are the main growth changes that occur during childhood and adolescence?
Can they not make this a bit more interesting? Because I'm going to fall asleep.
And now we're ready for the film. Lights.
These kids are so well behaved, or maybe my school just wasn't.
When we talk about growth, we usually think of growing up, but the long road of growth is not just up. If it were, it would mean that this little baby would someday look like this. Now, let's see how... Here are two average babies, a little boy and a little girl. In the course of a few years, they will reach maturity. During the first 3 years, growth is very rapid. Notice that the boy is a little bigger than the girl. At 9, arms, legs, and trunks have become long and slender, giving the body a slim appearance.
Did he just say trunks? I've just been thinking about how there's always a very weird monotone, but like serious way of speaking in these videos. It's always a little bit eerie, I think is the right word. I don't know if it's because all of the education videos we got shown were quite old, so they typically have that old school eerie, like creepy feel to them, but it makes you feel like you're doomed. Do you know what I mean? Like, as a kid when I was watching these videos, they almost freaked me out a little bit because they reminded me of those really terrible, scary AIDS ads that they used to show. Do you know the one I'm talking about, where it's really intense and there's that booming voice of that deep tone and it was like meant to scare you? I get the same creepy-esque vibes.
By 12 or 13, the average girl is taller and heavier than the boy, and she looks more mature.
Mature.
At 15, the girl's growth slows down, while usually the boy keeps on growing rapidly for another year or two. When they reach their late teens or early 20s, they are fully mature people.
I love how he's like a triangle.
Growth is controlled by tiny organs called glands within our bodies. The chemicals are called hormones, and they regulate body growth.
That's cool. I like this.
The pituitary hormone influences the secretions of other glands, notably the testes and ovaries, located in the pelvic region of the body.
I've never really liked the way they reference people in these videos, and it's not talking about us and you and we. I don't know whether that's just a personal thing, and maybe you guys would be like, well, that would make it confusing. Like, I'm trying to watch this video from the eyes of a child, from the eyes of little Ellie, and I think that the way he's talking makes it sound like this stuff isn't going to happen to me, which is why I do tend to prefer male and female videos. I know some people feel a bit funny about that, but some things I do feel like you benefit a lot from when you separate male and female sex ed videos, because you can use language like you will, we will, and then you have that personal like connection. Whereas I guess when it's unisex, like you have to say the male will. Maybe that's just me as a kid. You just think this stuff's not going to happen to you for some reason. You think the sun shines out of your ass.
Presence of these hormones in the blood brings about many changes in the bodies of both boys and girls.
Aw, that's cute.
And in the way they feel and act too.
Aw.
For boys, hair begins to grow on the face. For both boys and girls, hair grows under the arms, in the pubic region, and elsewhere on the body. The breasts of the girl begin to develop. The vocal cords of both boys and girls get larger and their voices deepen. They begin to be interested in members of the other sex, in social activities.
I mean, a little bit controversial these days, considering he does say the opposite sex, but we move.
The male cell, or sperm cell, is so small it can be seen only with a microscope. When we magnify the sperm cell many times, we see the head containing the nucleus and the tail that wiggles and causes...
Once again, I'm not sure whether this is a preference thing, but I don't feel comfortable with the silhouette stuff and the vagueness behind some of the stuff that he's saying. When it just shows the pelvic area and it's like, this is where the hormones go, and it's like, I kind of want to see more detail about like what that looks like, if you know what I mean, rather than just being like the ovaries and then just highlight 2 dots on my like legs, right? Well, I know that's located in the balls, but the kids don't. They're like, well, where is that? Like, is that in the penis? Is it behind the penis? Like, is it internal? I want details.
The female cell, or ovum, while larger than the sperm, is still no bigger than a pinpoint. By enlarging the ovum many times, we can see the cell wall and the disc-like nucleus.
I'm confused. We've skipped like a massive section.
The nucleus of each sex cell contains the genes and chromosomes which determine the heredity of the child. When a boy is between the ages of 13 and 16, the testes begin to produce sperm cells.
They should have said this bit earlier.
These sperm cells are carried through the...
It's not like clear enough. Is it like they semi-censor it because... I don't know.
It's in a thick, colorless liquid called semen, and at certain times are expelled through the penis. This happens during mating and sometimes during dreams in sleep.
Mating?
This is a normal function of the body. The sex organs of the girl consist of the tubes, the uterus, and the vagina.
Yeah, you'll have to tell me in the comments whether you agree with some of the stuff I'm saying, but I'd want to know where that's located. Like, as a kid, I would see this and be like, right, well, where is that? And then I'd want to know, like, down there at the bottom, that's where my foof is, and that's what I see when I look down and see my flaps, you know? But maybe I'm just treating kids like idiots.
About once every month, an ovum ripens and leaves the ovary, moving into the tube.
Whee!
While the uterus becomes richly supplied with blood to nourish the egg.
Common question of the day. Who else can feel when their egg has left their ovary? Because I can. I know what side it's left. I find it really cool. I feel like it's a little bit of a superpower. I remember when I first felt it and I was like, and I get to know when I'm ovulating, which I feel like is helpful for several reasons.
But if the ovum doesn't meet a sperm cell, it fails to grow and is discharged.
As a teacher, I feel like I would explain that throughout that month. You know, if a penis hasn't entered that tube there, then it's not going to... Because otherwise I'll be like, I wouldn't connect the dots together.
Some days later, the uterus sheds its lining and a little blood passes from the body.
A little.
The bleeding decreases and in a few days stops completely. The whole cycle begins again with another ovum ripening, usually in the opposite ovary.
Once again, he didn't explain that comes out of your vagina, I don't think. Like, I would have just assumed that happens inside your body. You don't interfere with it or see it or anything. But okay.
During early adolescence, the menstrual cycle may be quite irregular.
I'm so glad I regulated in the end.
It usually takes a year or two for a rhythm to become established.
Took me like 4.
These functions begin as we attain sexual maturity. Also, by the time they have completed their education, have steady jobs, want to get married, and are ready to accept the responsibility of having and raising children, the differences in sexual maturity will have disappeared.
What?
Human growth...
What my maturity is based on whether I want to have kids and get married
can begin only when the sperm cells of the father during mating pass from the penis into the vagina of the mother. The sperm cells use their thread-like tails to move into the uterus and tubes.
I want to see the dick going in and then like the sperm coming out. I don't care if that's vulgar or like graphic. You need to see these things as children to learn.
And one sperm succeeds in breaking through the cell wall. Fertilization occurs.
Personally, I would feel like just using the word egg would be better.
The nucleus of the sperm joins with the nucleus of the ovum, and growth begins.
That's not bad. Little description of that visually as well. At this point, I've just lost the will.
Ovum begins to divide into many cells while moving along the tube to the uterus. There it attaches itself to the inner lining.
Yeah, pregnant babe.
Drawing its nourishment from the blood of the mother, it continues to grow and in a month looks like this.
Ah, shit.
The uterus, which is normally not much bigger than a fist, is muscular and elastic enough to expand to many times its normal size. At 4 months, you can already see why this expansion is necessary. By 6 months, the baby has gradually turned to this head-down position in preparation for birth.
Look at the tiny
The baby is
vagina.
very active. If the mother were lying down, this would be the position of the baby just before birth.
They explained that really well. Like, they showed her going down and then the baby in its position. Like, where was that energy when you were describing the other stuff?
The head settles to a lower position, and the muscles of the uterus begin to force the baby out. The muscle walls of the vagina expand to make room, and the baby's head begins to move out of the mother. The doctor lends a helping hand, and the new baby meets the outside world. Since the baby no longer has to depend upon its mother's blood for food and oxygen, the doctor ties and cuts the cord. The baby cannot feel the cutting any more than you can feel it when the barber cuts your hair.
Well, that's good, isn't it? But we can bloody feel that thing coming out. That was really descriptive. I liked that. The baby part, like the childbirth part, is usually the strongest part in these sex ed videos. They go into detail and it's thorough and you know what's going on and stuff. But the other stuff kind of got glossed over, I feel like. Bit of information you're missing out there, honeykins. And there's lots of kids there that would benefit from that information. Like, where does that blood go? How do they deal with it? Maybe there's a separate video for that in particular. I'm hoping. If there isn't, then that's terrible.
And this baby will become a full-grown boy or girl, and eventually a father or a mother, thus continuing.
They're like...
The principles of growth and development we've seen in this film apply to all human beings. Now let's begin our discussion by answering the first question from
I like
the
that.
preview committee.
Growth begins when a sperm cell enters an egg cell.
Suppose the sperm cell doesn't enter the egg cell.
Then the egg isn't fertilized and it dies in a few days.
That's correct, Bill.
Fair.
Steve, do you have a question?
Well, it's sort of a silly question, but I was wondering why there's so many sperm cells and only one egg cell.
That's a very good question.
No such thing as a bad, stupid question. I asked something like that once in class and I got laughed at by my teacher because I was like, what happens to all the other sperm? There's so many there. Like, obviously, they're not all going to be used. And she was like, it just comes back out. I was like, I'm sorry, hon.
Let's use the projector to explain it.
Wish my teacher did this.
Now, in the first place, remember that the male sperm cells are being produced all the time, while only one egg cell is produced each month. That's one reason there's so many more sperm cells than egg cells.
Now tell me, why is it that we must be the ones responsible of contraception then? It irks me, it really does.
Then see what would happen if there were only one or a few sperm cells. The sperm cell has to travel all the way up here to find the ovum.
This is
And
good.
if there weren't so many of them, the chances of the ovum meeting a sperm cell would be small.
I like that.
Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yes, Mrs. Baker. About menstruation, is it really normal for the body to bleed like that?
Completely normal, Julie. Remember in the animated film, the lining of the uterus became filled with blood with which to nourish the fertilized ovum. Well, when the ovum is not fertilized, there's no need for this nourishment. So the uterus merely sheds its inner lining, and naturally a little blood leaves the body at the same time.
It's just the language thing again for me. I don't know why I've got such a problem with it. Like, maybe it was just the way they spoke then. It was a lot more, proper language, proper English.
Carolyn,
Do boys have anything like menstruation?
I heard my mother tell a neighbor I was born cesarean. What does that mean? Why don't all people have red hair?
What happens if more than one sperm cell enters an egg? How long will it take till my voice changes?
Are girls always bigger than boys at 12 or 13?
Everybody says I look like my Aunt Sarah. Why do I have to look like her when I don't even like her?
All of those are excellent questions. You students who've been watching this film, you've heard the questions we're going to discuss. You can discuss these same questions with your teacher.
Oh, I like
and
that.
you can add any others you have.
Jesus. It encourages you to ask things. As a kid, I always struggled with that. And it does make you think of more questions yourself because you're like, ooh, like, that's a valid question. Like, I want to know that now I've heard that. It's an interesting way, I feel like, to get teachers comfortable with talking to their students about these kind of things as well, because it is hard to open up that discussion and having like a fake classroom scenario. It basically does the hard work for them as such. I'd love to know whether you agree with some of the stuff that I said, or maybe you think it's a little bit harsh. My goodness, the sun. How would you do certain things differently? Maybe you have more experience with kids and children. Maybe you have kids, so you're aware a bit more of like what's important and necessary. I guess with like the questions that the kids could ask, like, it's not all in the video. So if the teacher's good in the classroom and the kids ask the right questions and they're honest about the things that they're actually curious and confused about, I think it, like, sex ed was probably fine. But it's all in the teachers. Like, this is why it's important, because what if you get just one bad teacher can mess up like 60 kids' perspective on growing up and pregnancy and really important shit like that a year. So if we think about how many years that teacher's teaching, how many generations of children are like going through this warped perspective. Anyway, I enjoyed this. Let me know if I should do this again. I liked it. I enjoyed it. So give me a like if you did, so I know down there. Hit the thumbs up button. I am on social media such as Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can book a tarot reading with me if you want. I have a tarot reading Facebook page and a tarot reading Instagram. So if you want to book a tarot reading with me, you can find the links down there to do that. Just send me a DM or a message. And I'll see you guys for my next video. Bye.